Because when you're an asshole, it doesn't matter how right you are. Nobody wants to give you the satisfaction. I know. Everyone wants people they like to be right. That's why popular people are fucking dumb.
You gotta go get educated, man. You gotta read. I need you to go out there and read all of the books, right? You know, our educational system has been trash for generations, long before I even got into it. But as I graduated high school and before I went to college, I couldn't help but feel, and this was around the year 2000, I couldn't help but feel like I was dodging a hell of a bullet. And the past 20 years has really shown me, yeah, I did dodge a bullet because of all of these different, by all technical means, new means of education and academia that have been thrown out there. And one of the most damaging is CRT. We got this coming to us from the New York Post. NYC teacher, we're damaging kids with critical race theory. And this is written by Rossi. This is a opinion piece, which I normally don't cover, but seeing how I did a video a while back titled Why Men Don't Teach, well, it's because of to sum up that video, it's because everything right now is designed to not make sense. And according to the masculine brain, yeah, shit needs to be logical. So that's where we end up with Mr. Rossi here. Paul Rossi is an educator at New York City's Grace Church High School, where he is being asked to embrace anti-racism, which is racism, whether you want to admit it or not. Private school teacher Paul Rossi writes that we're doing a disservice by instilling critical race theory on students. This essay was originally published in journalist Barry Weiss' Substack. I am a teacher at Grace Church High School in Manhattan. 10 years ago, I changed careers when I discovered how rewarding it is to help young people explore the truth and beauty of mathematics. I love my work. So he's good at math. I mean, better man than me. As a teacher, my first obligation is to my students. But right now, my school is asking me to embrace anti-racism, training in pediology that I believe is deeply harmful to them and to any person who seeks to nurture the virtues of curiosity, empathy, and understanding. Anti-racist training sounds righteous, but it is the opposite of truth in advertising. It requires teachers like myself to treat students differently on the basis of race. Furthermore, in order to maintain a united front for our students, teachers at Grace are directed to confine our doubts about this pedagogical framework to conversations with an in-house Office of Community Engagement, for whom every significant object leads to a foregone conclusion. Any doubting students are likewise challenged to reframe their views to conform to this orthodoxy. Because it's ideology. And when it's ideology, like, that's the difference between, brainwashing and educating. When you're educating, well, really no questions are off the table, right? Like, if you're teaching, then asking any question shouldn't garner a hostile response. But when you're indoctrinating, when you are brainwashing, then there are certain things that are off limits. I know that by attaching my name to this, I'm risking not only my current job, but my career as an educator, since most schools, both public and private, are now captive to this backwards ideology. But witnessing the harmful impact it has on children, I can't stay silent. My school, like so many others, induces students via shame and sophistry to identify primarily with their race before their individual identities are fully formed. Students are pressured to conform their opinions to those broadly associated with their race and gender, and to minimize or dismiss individual experiences that don't match those assumptions. The morally compromised status of oppressor is assigned to one group of students based on their immutable characteristics. In the meantime, dependency, resentment, and moral superiority are cultivated in students considered oppressed, quote unquote oppressed. That's how you use quotes, guys. That's how you use quotes. And all of this is done in the name of equity, but it is the opposite of fair. In reality, all of this reinforces the worst impulses we have as human beings, our tendency towards tribalism and sectarianism, that is truly liberal education is meant to transcend. That a truly liberal education is meant to transcend. Okay, I said that wrong. Recently, I raised questions about this ideology at a mandatory whites-only student and faculty Zoom meeting. Such racially segregated sessions are now commonplace at my school. And that's the thing, like back in the 60s, like that was what not what we, right? But I am a descendant of American slavery. But that's what my ancestors tried to get away from. Yet, here we are, 2021, and you can't be drinking. You got to drink at the colored fountain, you know? It was a bait and switch self-care seminar that labeled objectivity, individualism, fear of open conflict, and even a right to comfort as characteristics of white supremacy. Oh my God, these idiots. And there are people, this has been going on for about like 30, 40, about 40 years. Well, let's say from like the 80s, because, from the 50s and like about until about the 60s and the 70s, this is pretty rough right there. Like in the 60s, but since the signing of the Civil Rights Act, just moving from there, they really just, victim, even though that 13% has remained a steady 13%, and I don't believe that everybody in that 13% is a descendant, but let's continue. I doubted that these human attributes, many of them virtues reframed as vices, should be radicalized in this way. In the Zoom chat, I also questioned whether one must define oneself in terms of racial identity at all. My goal was to model for students that they should feel safe to question ideological assertions if they felt moved to do so. It seemed like my questions broke the ice. Students and even a few teachers offered a broad range of questions and observations. Many students said it was more productive and substantive discussion than they expected. However, when my questions were shared outside this forum, violating the school norm of confidentiality, I was informed by the head of the high school that my philosophical challenges had caused harm to students, given that these topics were life and death matters about people's flesh and blood and bone. I was reprimanded for acting like an independent agent of a set of principles or ideas or beliefs. Wow. Once again, guys, it's always projection. It's always them accusing you of the shit that they're doing. And I was told that by doing so, I failed to serve the greater good and the higher truth. He further informed me that I had created dissonance for vulnerable and uninformed thinkers and neurological disturbance in students, beings, and systems. Jesus Christ. The student's director of studies added that my remarks could even constitute harassment. A few days later, the head of school ordered all high school advisors to read a public reprimand of my conduct out loud to every student in the school. Jesus Christ, it was a surreal experience. No shit. Walking the halls alone and hearing the words emitted from each classroom. Events from last week compel us to underscore some aspects of our mission and to share some thoughts about our community, the statement began. At independent schools, where their history of predominantly white, populations, racism colludes with other forms of bias, sexism, classism, ableism, and so much more. Oh my God. To undermine our stated ideals, and we must work hard to undo this history. Students from low-income families experience culture shock at our schools. Racist incidents happen, and bias can influence relationships. All true, but addressing such problems with a call to undo history lacks any kind of limiting principle and pairs any allegation of bigotry with priori. Sure. Guilt. My own contract for next week requires me to participate in restorative practices designed by the Office of Community Engagement in order to heal my relationship with students of color and other students in my classes. The details of these practices remain unspecified until I agree to sign. How much longer? Oh man, he's going for a while here. Buddy, I'm with you. Okay? Once again, it's a part of the reason why, we're not finishing this. It's a part of the reason why I did that video about, men just not, because the educational system is just, it's so bad. It really is. And it sucks because, there are children who are A, being taught to hate themselves, and B, being educationally sabotaged and taught what to think and not how to think, or or having their curiosity just crushed down before them. And with curiosity comes creativity. So this is sad. It really is. And I would probably pull my kids from that school, man. But seriously, over here at Jay the Gent, the channel, we wish Mr. Rossi all the best of luck, and hopefully, he continues to stay the course and keeps trying to help these kids, because the educational system in which you work for, Mr. Rossi, has absolutely no intention. They need them to be morons. They need them to be dumb. Seriously. So with that being said, we're going to bring this one to an end. All the internet stuff. If you like it, toss it a like, dislike, go ahead, do that too. Nobody's scared of you. Sub. If you enjoy my fantastic voice, you want to get videos like this every single day, share, because sharing is caring. And YouTube and Bitchute and like aren't the biggest fans of your boy over here for very obvious reasons. Bang the bell for notifications. Get something from Teespring. Check me out on Patreon as well. Links in the description. Actually, go in the description box and do damage and speak. Let me know. What do you guys think in the comments? Mr. Rossi did absolutely nothing wrong. That's definitely going to be the title of the video. And seriously, this is how I say, like, the educational system is completely overrun with the feminine, and that shit has to come to that's a conversation that really needs to be had, and something has to come to a head in regards to that. But you may disagree, and that's what my comment section's for. Until the next one.
Shh. Over the next 90 minutes, I'd like to show you that all your problems can be solved by my penis.